Welcome to another one of our Tuesday live streams. My name is Chuck Ridgway. I'm the Advanced Technology Manager here at Horner, and I think we've got a great program for you here today. We're going to be introducing to you the new Horner app for Android. Pretty exciting topic. And joining me, as he almost always does, Mr. Casey Gardner. How we doing, Casey?
Hey, not too bad. How's it going, Chuck?
It's going really well. So the whole time we were developing our iOS app, which has been out for several weeks now, I was pretty closely involved in running that product through its paces, working out the bugs, all the way up until release. But I have not had the same opportunity on the Android side. But I believe you have. Isn't that true, Casey?
I have. I actually have one of each type of phone, so I've got to play with both, but definitely been running it through the races over the last few weeks for sure to get it ready to present anyway.
Absolutely, and I think we're actually pretty close to getting it on the Google Play Store. What engineering's letting me know, or what they told me earlier today, is it could be anywhere from just a few days to, maybe as much as a month, but hopefully it won't be anywhere nearly that long, and we'll be ready to go. So what we're doing today is I'm going to kind of review the features and functions of the new app, and then about partway through, we're going to bring it back to Casey, and Casey is going to show off his experience with the Android app by demonstrating it for us. And then at the end of the session, we're going to review and kind of talk about a roadmap for where the app is headed, whether we're talking iOS or Android. We've got a lot of things planned for the future, and we want to kind of give you a roadmap of where we're headed with that. All right. We'll be back to you in a second, Casey.
Sounds good.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to basically answer the question, what is the Horner app? I'll review its features. Casey will do the demonstration for you. We'll talk about, the commercial details, where you'll be able to get it, how much it'll cost. We'll talk about some great applications for it. And as I just mentioned, we're going to talk roadmap so that you'll have an idea of what the plans are for that product in the future. So what is the Horner app? Of course, it's an app for mobile devices. There's two great mobile platforms these days, both iOS and Android. And as a manufacturer, we are pleased to support them both. Again, the iOS version has been out for a few weeks now. It's gotten off to a nice start, and we're anxious for the Android version to be out there as well. Basically, both apps provide a variety of machine access options. So whether you're talking about remote monitoring and control using WebMI, whether you're talking about file transfers, file access, data logging, program files, whatever the case may be over FTP, these apps are useful whether you're talking about remotely accessing over the internet or you're talking about in plant use. They're good for both. So what does it really do? Well, effectively, it allows you to very easily monitor and control any OCS with WebMI. Also allows you to transfer files to and from any OCS over FTP. Well, I can hear you all thinking right now, well, I don't need an app to do that. I can just use my web browser and an FTP client on a mobile platform and I'm good to go. And that's absolutely true. The benefit that the app gives you today, at least, is it allows you to it basically keeps track for you all the IP addresses or URLs, all the access credentials for usernames and passwords that you have for WebMI and FTP. And if you are running one site or a dozen sites, you have the ability not to have to remember all of those credentials anymore. Just press a button and have instant access to the site or to the files on the memory cards at the site. So the process really starts with, of course, downloading the app from the Google Play Store when it's available. And again, we're thinking it could be as soon as the next 2 or 3 days, or maybe as long as a month. We're kind of at the mercy of Google for that. But effectively, the way setup starts is you log in with your Universal Horner login. Now, what is the Universal Horner login? Well, effectively, it's the same username and password that you use every time you access our website to download Seascape. Okay, so no new credentials there, just the same username and password that you use on our website. So once you have logged in, then it's really a matter of creating what we call sites. You would press the plus button to get that process started. What is a site? Well, typically a site is going to be named based on its location, whether that's a city, whether that's a plant, whatever makes sense in your application, you have the flexibility of assigning whatever name you want. You're going to provide an address typically, and you can utilize the built-in map functions in your phone to accomplish that. That can be really useful, especially for, let's say, remote sites, which may be kind of out in the country or out in the sticks a little bit. Sometimes GPS coordinates are even more useful than addresses, frankly. It gives you the opportunity to provide a description. Could be just some extra notes that you want to put in for that particular site, whatever the case may be. And then once you've added in one or more sites, actually multiple sites, you've always got the opportunity to put those in a different order. So it really doesn't matter the order in which you enter them in. If you want to rearrange them after you've added additional sites, you've always got the capability of doing that. Okay, and we see here that once you've created at least one site, it'll show up here on your list of sites, the My Sites screen you see there. And then you've got the opportunity to edit that particular site if something changes over time, or to clone that site to help give you a head start on the next site that you're going to create. Now, once you've got one or more sites created, then it's all about adding devices. And you're going to follow the exact same process for adding devices. You're going to start out by pressing the plus button to add a device, starting from a blank slate, of course. You're going to assign it a name, again, a name that makes sense, whether it's the type of machine it is, the type of function it performs, whatever you would like to use for a name. Again, you've got a room for a description. Same sort of thing there. Whatever you would like to, whatever additional text you would like to include, that's useful, recorded in the app. And then if it's a case where there are unique Wi-Fi SSIDs and passwords for that particular site, and your phone is not going to just automatically log in when you go to that site, then you might want to enter in the SSID and password for the local Wi-Fi network. If you're going to be accessing the unit over the internet, or if it's a scenario where your phone just naturally logs into that particular network whenever you go on site, then that's a step that you wouldn't necessarily have to take if you didn't want to. Okay, and then the details, in addition to the possible Wi-Fi type details, in addition to that, you're going to have, of course, the WebMI credentials. So username and password that you use every time you access that particular device using WebMI. Same thing for FTP, whatever the username and password is that you would use whenever you use an FTP client, for instance, to access the files on that particular controller. You would fill that in as well. And then again, once you have added one or multiple devices, then you always have the ability to reorder them by sliding them up and down. And you have the ability to delete them by swiping left, all those sort of good things. I think Casey's probably going to show you a lot of that here in a few minutes. And again, once you've established at least one device, you'll see you've got the edit tool and the cloning tool that you can use to either go in and change things after the fact, or to duplicate an existing device if you want to create another one that's close to one that you've already created. Okay, so now we're done setting up. We've created at least one site, we've created at least one device, we've filled in the credentials that are required. Now we're ready to use the app. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to want to log into the app. It does require that you're logged in. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have full internet access every time you use the app. It just means that you need to be logged into the app to use it. So effectively what you would do is you'd log into the app when you have internet access and just stay logged in. There's no real reason to log out under normal circumstances. And then later on, when you go to use the app, whether you have internet access or not, you'll have the ability to use it the way you want. Okay, so now it's time to access a controller. Basically, browse the sites for the controller that you're looking for, at least for the site that you're starting from. Once you have selected that site, now the list of devices available at that site that you had previously configured all shows up in a nice list there. If you're looking to access WebMI, it's just a matter of hitting the WebMI button. All right, if you're looking to access files over FTP, of course, you're going to hit the file icon. So it's pretty intuitive, as you can see. Again, if you're in a local network situation, so if you're going to a site that has a local Wi-Fi network and your phone isn't just automatically logged into that network already, then the Horner app will basically log you in based on the SSID and password that you configured under those credentials if you entered them. Otherwise, If you're accessing over the internet or you didn't fill in those credentials, it'll just use the internet access on the phone to access that site, or the local Wi-Fi access on that phone to access the site. And again, if you're connecting over the internet, there's really no reason to plug in the Wi-Fi credentials. It's just as long as you have a signal of some sort, whether that's cellular or otherwise, you're going to have the ability to go access that site remotely. Okay, now once you've selected your device and WebMI and you've established a connection, now using WebMI is the same as it always is, okay? The Horner app handles everything. It handles the URL or IP address, the username and password, that all occurred in the background. Any license agreement that, that pop-up can occur sometimes, never with the Horner app. Just makes it really easy to get right into that particular WebMI page that you're looking for. Now, you aren't stuck with only looking at the website or the WebMI page in the vertical orientation. If you want to have it in more of a landscape orientation, it's really just a matter of turning it sideways. So when you have your phone oriented vertically, the page is going to be sized for width. When you have your phone oriented horizontally or in the landscape position, it's going to be sized for height. All right. And if you want a larger screen experience, you're not limited to your cellular phone. Of course, you can utilize whatever tablet or other mobile device that you want that may have a larger screen. Now, we just talked about how you might access using WebMI. The file access is very similar. It's really just a matter of, again, going to the site that you want, going to the device that you want, selecting File instead of WebMI. And then what will happen is, at that stage, you will have the option of selecting Fabric. That's the name of the Horner app, is Fabric. You'll have the option of selecting Fabric from the list of file locations. You'll have a list of files and folders accessible, which you can then navigate and have full access to all the files on the memory card that's installed in the OCS, as long as, of course, you've set it up in advance using the Horner app. Okay, and then uploading, downloading files, that's all capable based on the software or the apps that are running on your phone. So that makes it really simple. So I think we've gotten to the portion of our program now where we're going to turn it back over to Casey. So let me go ahead and flip it back to Casey. And there's the Android app. Let me go ahead and go full screen with Casey's demo. And there we go. Take it away, Casey.
Perfect. All right. So we're just kind of using my phone in a desktop mode just to make it a little easier to see and display from our end as well. So first things first is, again, like any phone, you can save your credentials on there if you want to make it easier to log in. So I'm just going to select mine, and then on my phone it happens that I'm going to use my thumb to log in. So as soon as I do that, it pops up. So we're going to sign in. And then as you can see, we've got a couple sites that I've already pre-created. And even doing so, I'm using a mouse and keyboard actually to navigate this, but you could either hold with your finger, in this case I'm just holding with a mouse and can drag it around if I wanted to. And then if I wanted to edit any of those credentials, we can do so easily through here. And then if we want to get to an example, or we can also even clone them. So say we have very similar sites where you just want to copy and paste some of that descriptions, you can clone it. And then if you don't necessarily want to, you can just delete it by swiping over to the left. If we want to go into one of those locations, this is where I've got a couple different devices set up. One is actually just a local OCS sitting on my desk that has a weather station program that we had put together just for demo purposes and general monitoring anyway. That one is actually connected via LAN over our local area network, and was kind of here just to show kind of the speed that some of our devices can actually access. So as you can see, shortly after clicking, it pulls it right back up. Now what you can also see is that this isn't getting any live data because nothing's hooked up to this OCS. So using that same device, we can also show off the FTP. If we go into Files, and then over here on the left, we We've got our fabric device, and it pulls it right back up. So you can see this is a list of different folders. We go into those folders. Helps if I click it. You can see all the CSV data that it's gathered over time. So nice, quick and easy to use. Now in this other instance, this is a weather station that we have that's actually has live data to it. So we're going to pull it up. Now this is using a cellular connection. So unfortunately we're restricted to cellular speeds in that sense. Just going to take a little longer to pull up.
I know we always complain sometimes about cellular response times, but I know if we've got a machine that we want to troubleshoot or some data we want to gather remotely, it's still a heck of a lot faster than hopping in the car or getting on an airplane and going on site for sure.
Yes, absolutely. That's one thing we always try to avoid for sure. But in this case, you can see it pulls up and it's still pulling in live data. We've got wind and direction kind of out there, as well as temperature data. It's mid 80s. It's pretty toasty out there for sure. But still, again, very, very nice and simple. And I didn't have to type in the IP address of any devices or anything I wanted to pull up. It's already got all that saved for me.
Yeah, no username, no passwords, no licensing screen, none of that stuff. It's nice to have that all taken care of.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks, Casey, for that demonstration. I'm sure the Android users out there are excited to try out the new Android app for the Horner OCS. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk now about some of the commercial details. Effectively, the app will be available soon. Again, anytime in the next few days, hopefully. Could be as much as maybe 30 days, but we're hoping it's a lot sooner than that. But it'll be available from the Google Play Store like any other publicly available app. Priced at only $4.99, so very cost effective. It will require Android 9 or newer, but some features also will vary. As you Android users know, there is more variability from device to device. One of the trade-offs with having some of the better customization options that are available on Android as opposed to iOS, for instance. So there may be a little variability in terms of the version that's required and the exact functionality, but in general, the functionality will be very consistent, and as long as you have Android 9 or newer, you should be good to go. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the applications for this. Certainly, almost any industry which is using an OCS for controlling a machine or monitoring a machine, whatever the case may be, could have the use for remote control and remote monitoring. So if you have a use for remote control and remote monitoring, today at least, the Horner app is an excellent way of automating that approach with multiple controllers for sure. So whether you're talking about building automation, where you've got multiple sites and facilities that need to be managed, whether you're talking about managing assets of mobile equipment from a mobile equipment standpoint, if it's an agricultural application, maybe you have multiple farm sites, maybe you have systems for monitoring grain drying or whatever the case may be on an agricultural type application. A lot of times those involve controllers spread out over a distance, sometimes using Wi-Fi, sometimes using wired, sometimes using cellular. This is an excellent way, using the Horner app is an excellent way to manage those sorts of functions in an agricultural type environment. And then just in a manufacturing environment, for instance, maybe you've got a preventative maintenance program across within a plant or across multiple plants. Maybe you are gathering OEE efficiency type data, and you're looking for a way to be able to easily access data remotely on demand. Then this is certainly a tool that can help you accomplish that. Next, let's talk about what else is planned for the Horner app. I mean, today we've pretty well detailed that it's WebMI access, managing your credentials for you, as well as FTP file access, giving you the ability to quickly and easily access files within a controller, wherever that controller happens to be located, as long as it's got a network connection. But what else could we be doing with the Horner app as time moves forward? Well, one of the things we've got planned is using it as a maintenance and troubleshooting tool. Having the ability to start and stop controllers, to check the scan rate, to check the firmware version. Some diagnostic capabilities are planned. where you can monitor the system menu and see what's happening in terms of diagnostics, monitor key settings, even change key settings without necessarily having to go into the system menu on the controller. So those are some kind of maintenance type functions that we have planned. Also, we've got some new products coming out that we're going to be talking about in the pretty near future over the next 60 days, where we're going to be utilizing near field communications functionality. So you'll have the ability, because NFC is pretty much built into just about every mobile phone these days, Android and iOS, you'll have the ability to use this near field capability with our new IP67 controller that we're going to talk to you about next month as we launch that into the market. You'll have the ability to adjust network configuration parameters, to check status and diagnostics during install or after install for that matter, and even access a bunch of settings that would otherwise require a system menu. And as you can see from looking at that piece of IP67 hardware, there's no system menu to be seen. So you're effectively creating a virtual screen and a virtual system menu there. Another new product we'll be telling you about in the next 60 days or so is really exciting, and that's our new OCS I/O. And it's also designed with near field communications as well. So during the third quarter, we'll be talking to you about that new product. And using NFC, you're going to have the ability again to get in and do some configuration, whether that's the network ID or the baud rate, as well as some diagnostics in terms of I/O status, what the I/O state was on the last scan, or the last NFC scan, if you will. Lots of exciting stuff there with both IP67 I/O and the new OCS I/O. Some more capabilities that we were looking at. Alarm monitoring, so you'll be able to monitor alarms on a controller remotely. The ability to load new programs from your mobile device. The ability to perform firmware updates. Now, these aren't necessarily things that we have planned for the next few weeks or even maybe the next few months, but over the course of 2021, 2022, and beyond, these are the types of features that we're looking at. Also, as we continue to add new features that are licensed features, we're going to give you the capability of licensing those features in the field in a really easy way using your mobile device. Also, for those of you who start taking advantage of IoT protocols like REST and MQTT, we're going to give you the ability to monitor that data and potentially even do some test MQTT transfers or monitor some transfers. So lots of exciting stuff planned here in the roadmap for the Horner app for sure. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up what we wanted to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and bring Casey Gardner back in. So Casey, thanks for that demonstration of the Android app. It looks good.
Yeah, it does. Pretty happy with its performance, and it's come together relatively quickly as well, as opposed to, or just after our iOS version anyway. So very nice and exciting to be able to share it for sure.
Absolutely. So June will be no different than May. We've got more live streams planned for you. So let me mention that every Tuesday at 2 o'clock we'll be presenting new material, whether it's completely live with live demos like today was, whether we have a pre-recorded video that we introduce on that day and are there live for question and answers, whatever the case may be, that every Tuesday at 2 o'clock you've got an opportunity for new content from Horner. And for the June specifics, keep your eye out for our e-newsletter that will be sent out shortly that will detail what we have on tap for June. So once again, I want to thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to get the new Android app almost to the market. So as soon as Google says we're a go, then it'll be available from Google Play. And certainly that'll be something that we will announce formally on our website, as well as I'm sure in our e-newsletter, just as soon as that last hurdle has been cleared and the app is up and going and available on the Google Play Store. Okay, so again, joining us every Tuesday if you can, or watch the replays because they're always up there within 24 hours or so of the program, and hopefully we can deliver some more content that you'll find useful and informative. And again, we appreciate you joining us today. Take care.